welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union Energy update. It's going to be kind of a special Sacred Union Energy update because we do have a solar eclipse tomorrow, a total solar eclipse tomorrow, and there's some powerful energies that are coming through with it, and it's going to resonate for everybody in a little bit of a different way depending on where you are on your journey. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But first, I do want to share a little bit of a personal experience that I feel might resonate for you along your journey, again, depending on where you are. Remember, you can take these readings for the Divine Masculine or Divine Feminine within you because you contain both energies, and your Sacred Union Path of Ascension is coming into inner union, the balance and the harmonization of those energies within you first, and then in a conscious connection or sacred relationship with your partner. You can take this for your counterpart, for what your counterpart might be experiencing, to hold greater compassion or understanding for their own journey. Or you could also take this for the greater collective, because as we're experiencing our ascension, it's also affecting the greater whole. Everything is a ripple effect. We've been doing this for 7 years now, and that's kind of blowing my mind, because this journey has truly been an evolution. And my business and the channelings that we've brought forth here has seen their own evolution. And it's interesting to me that I've been called to kind of pull back because I'm definitely going through my own inner process that is quite remarkable. And I feel this internal pull to really keep everything sacred, to go within, to not analyze, to not try to think too much about anything, but just to witness, to sit within the sacredness of the experiences myself. And then, of course, as I have these experiences, because of the work that I'm called to do, I share what I'm called to do. But it's really an interesting journey that we've been on, and we continue to evolve into, looking at it always from the ascension standpoint, from the standpoint of this is a soul growth journey first and foremost, but sacred connection, sacred relationship or partnership is a huge part of that, because you're catalyzed to this journey with a partner through the twin flame energy. But remember, it's all about the energy, not necessarily the physical relationship. At least that's not what the journey is about. That's kind of maybe the end result. That may be like the cherry on top, but there's a full-on cake there too, and you have to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy the cake as well, not just the cherry on top, right? And that's what this journey really teaches you. It teaches you to love yourself, to love your life, to love your journey. But I digress. That's the direction that we've been heading. That's the kind of the direction that we've created our whole platform under, and that's the direction that we're going to be going in further, and I'll be sharing more along the way as I have more on that. But we're going to start first with the experiences that I had last week. I started last week, I don't even know where to begin. I started last week, Monday specifically. I remember waking up and feeling like, what is this? It felt like a new version of myself. And I knew I was going to be doing some healing over the course of the week. I knew I had a tarot event, charity event. If you guys would like to be part of that charity fundraiser, I have readings available for the month of April as a special reading. That your contribution goes towards the charity. It's a fundraiser. All the information is available on my website. But I had a charity event. I had a new visit with a new chiropractor. He does somatic healing, nervous system healing, and stuff like that. And I was excited about that because I could tell that I've done so much work and so much healing when it comes to my intellectual, emotional, mental healing, all that stuff. I've done so much work energetically, but I could still feel there was some stuff housed within my body. And I've been working for the past 2 years really on healing my body, and through movement, through I have a personal trainer, working on my physical health, and I knew that this person that I was introduced to from my personal trainer was going to be a key component of that. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. But let's go back to, I could tell Monday, I woke up feeling completely clear. Now, I live with brain fog, and that's sometimes really hard to deal with because of the illness that I've experienced in the past and that I still live with and contend with. I don't always have a lot of stamina I don't always have a lot of energy. So it's that's why it's hard for me sometimes to, do readings or to schedule anything, is because I don't always have the stamina. But something really shifted for me this past week where I had the stamina, I had the energy, I had the motivation, I had the productivity. I have not had any of that since basically the beginning of the year, maybe even a little bit further than that. I was definitely in a hermit mode, but I could feel myself coming out of it. And I could also feel my multidimensional self accessing this higher version of myself from the healing that I would be doing. I could feel it. I could feel those codes coming in. I could feel that new version of myself anchoring in. And even though my physical experience hadn't yet caught up to actually having those healing sessions or those experiences, I could feel my multidimensional self anchoring in that future version of myself. So it was a really interesting experience. Then I had a dream with regards to my counterpart a few days later. And it was an interesting dream because usually he's on the periphery of my dreams. I could feel his energy, but he's not always present. Um, However, he was present. And I was looking at a pictures of him on the wall. We were, as we are now, as far as age, but as you guys know my journey, we've known each other since we were 10 years old. And when we were 10 years old, this is going to be part of the story, he had a crush on me, but I rejected him or refused him. From a 10-year-old standpoint, I had a crush on somebody else. From an energetic standpoint, I was not ready to see myself. I'm going to get to this in a minute too, because this is important. So, I had a dream that I was in a house or his house or something like that. It was supposed to be some kind of party. And I was looking at a wall, and on the wall, there were these pictures of him when he was younger. And I recognized him as his younger self, as I knew him when we were growing up together, as I knew him when we were in school. Um, but I started to cry. We were also looking at a scrapbook, and I could see there was a picture of his younger self, and right below that was a picture of me in the same classroom being young. And then there was a picture, a class picture of us standing next to each other. Now, that picture doesn't exist. I'm sure we have a class picture together, but not standing next to each other. And obviously, the scrapbook doesn't exist, but I was asking him, what is this? And I started just crying and in the dream, and he was just comforting me. And when I woke up, I knew that there was something that I needed to heal around what I call the time wound. This is not the first time I've experienced this, and it's not the first time I've talked about it. The time wound for me, and it might exist for you in a number of different ways, comes to the idea of, why couldn't we meet earlier? Why did it take so long for us to get our shit together and connect and meet? And now I understand on one level it was because we had, our own experiences. I had my experiences of travel and work and businesses to birth. He had a daughter, he had his own experiences. Um, that was the human perspective. The energetic perspective was, it wasn't time. We weren't ready. There was the divine alignment, right? Piece or aspect to it. But that time wound persisted to me. This feeling of regret that we had spent all this time apart. And it was only when we were in our mid 30s that we finally reconnected. But I've known him for all my life. I remember a specific time of being in his house and seeing a picture of him, and when he was in high school, and wondering, how did I not see him? Because ever since we were 10 years old, beyond that time, it was like there was a block over my vision. It was like I wasn't able to see him. It was a similar experience when I was in New York 2 months prior to our activation, prior to meeting again, when one of my best friends was talking about twin flames. And it was like in one ear, out the other. I could not understand what she was talking about. It's like there's a blank chapter when it comes to those conversations. Now, I'd already been going through my spiritual awakening. I'd been going to psychic development courses, meditations. I'd been activated on many levels to my own spiritual journey. And so that whole weekend, we were talking about spiritual topics. We were manifesting left and right. I was helping her through a dark night of the soul that she was experiencing. But when she started talking about twin flames, it did not make sense. During this time, my counterpart and I had also connected. We were still in conversation. We would message each other on Facebook and catch up and things like that. So we were legitimately friends. But there was one point we had met each other for coffee in 2016. I could feel my body vibrating. I didn't have the words for it, but the frequency was a little bit off. It wasn't time. We weren't ready. He had experiences. I still had growth and experiences, especially around loving myself during that year. And so we still caught up. We still uh, remained friends. We still talked. There was a point where I felt like I was getting too attached, and I told him that. And I said, "Hey, listen, I'm really starting to like you. I'm going to pull back a little bit." Um, but it wasn't until that November of 2017 that everything aligned, and that we had that moment of activation. We had that moment of recognition. We had that moment of homecoming, and our whole twin flame experience really began. So I say that because I knew that the time wound was still active. The pain, the regret almost of why the hell was I so blocked from seeing him? Because again, from 10 years old on, even though we went to the same high school and he said that he saw me in school, I do not remember even passing him in the hallways. Again, it was like there was a block over my vision from seeing him. So I knew that this was something that I wanted to access. So it was Thursday when I went to my new chiropractor. Last week I had a discovery call with him, and it was amazing because I'm like, this guy speaks my language. He was talking about energy, he was talking about consciousness, he was talking about emotions trapped within the body. It was exactly what I need for this next level of my healing. To release within the physical body what I've already been releasing energetically, consciously. And so I had my first session on Thursday, and it was incredible. He did body mapping, which is just like light touch to kind of see where some of the emotions might still be housed. And I was having activations and visions as this was happening. And he said, "Did you feel anything? Did you see anything?" And I said, "Well, I saw a broken heart." And he showed me a paper, and he had the heart space circled. So there was definitely stuff in there. But it wasn't broken heart as in, from relationship. It could be broken heart from anything, because everything creates kind of fractures in our heart space, right? Any kind of trauma or pain that we experience, especially when it comes to love, that all kind of puts little scars or imprints on our heart. And so that was something that I really needed to work on, really needed to heal and work through. And again, I'd already been doing so much consciously, but this was going to be going deeper into layers and levels that I wasn't able to access. And I knew that the healing session that I was going to have that evening was going to be a piece of it. The one around the time wound was going to be a piece of this. And it's no coincidence that it was all happening in the same week, that was all happening essentially in the same day. So my doctor, amazing, helping me to access within the body to really level up in that container, being able to hold that container of consciousness, being able to hold that healing. And what was amazing is I could really see the conscious masculine reflected back. And we've talked about this you'll experience this in many different ways, where you'll level up and invite in more of those soul frequencies that are reflecting you. And it doesn't have to be romantic. For me, it's always been platonic, but there have been masculines along the journey, feminines too, but masculines along the journey that are reflecting that growth within myself. And for my doctor, he was so present. He was so, like, we were going back and forth. He was saying something, and then I was reiterating it in my own language to make sense of it, and in the language that I use, the language of ego and soul and consciousness. But it was just amazing to see that we were talking about the same thing and having this beautiful exchange of conversation and ideas, talking about the same thing but with different language. And that's really what the divine masculine is. The divine masculine will uh, come at it from a different perspective, from a much more grounded perspective. With regards to my doctor, he was speaking in the language of physiology. But with regards to, so that's like a masculine perspective, right? And the feminine perspective is more like energy and consciousness and stuff like that. So that was really, really interesting. And for me to be able to feel that sense of safety and presence with the masculine was showing me how I've grown within my own inner masculine as well. So you'll experience that again in a number of different ways with a number of different connections and relationships that are coming in, more soul brothers and sisters coming in. And that's what that's what my doctor feels like for me, just like my personal trainer feels like for me, like a soul sister. This guy feels like a soul brother, just at least to facilitate the next level of this healing. So I knew that there was more here. I knew that I needed to access more here, but that I wasn't able to consciously get it through the journaling work that I do or the meditations that I do. I wasn't able to access it. So I had my friend come in, and she held space for me as we did a session. And the session was just neutralizing the energies by accessing my higher self, accessing my higher consciousness, and going back to the point of origin of whatever it was that I was feeling with regards to this time wound. And what was fascinating about this is I was brought back to the point of reference of my masculine and I, my counterpart and I, when we were children, and the in essence, rejection that I had experienced, rejecting him, and the shame that I felt from that, and how I had been the one that had, in essence, rejected him. I don't want to say rejected because, again, 10 years old, it's not coming from a place of ill intent. 10 years old, you don't know any better from your human perspective. But I wasn't able to see myself yet. I experienced so much trauma in my childhood up until that point, that I was not willing to see what this little boy, this beautiful, sensitive, brave little boy, wanted to see in me. This is often what will happen, is the divine masculine will recognize you first. It might not look it, it might not seem it, but they will recognize it first, and then they'll pull away. But are they pulling away because they don't understand the journey and they don't understand the connection? Well, on some level, yes. But on another level, they're pulling away because they're making space for you, for your journey, for your ascension. What I had to face was that I was the one that pulled away first. That I was, in essence, the initial runner. Now, I can't blame myself. I can't criticize myself or judge myself for it from my human perspective or even from my soul's perspective. All I can do is hold the space for that awareness, that responsibility, and that understanding, and offer myself that forgiveness. And that's exactly what happened. So what I saw was going back to the original point of that separation, because that's exactly what it was. It was separation energy. I went back to the original point of when I felt that sense of shame, of rejection, that sense of shame of pushing him away because I wasn't able to see myself. And what I then saw was Adam and Eve in the garden, two figures representing Adam and Eve naked. And it was that fall of consciousness, the shame coming from that fall of consciousness. And as I neutralized the energies, I saw the two coming back together, stepping back into the garden, and holding hands together in that union. Now, if you follow me on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, you know that we dive deeper into the ascension journey, into twin flame channelings, and sacred unions. And we channeled the sacred channeling out of the garden. I think that's what it's called, out of the garden, where we talk about Adam and Eve and the fallen consciousness. And that's exactly what I was seeing. I was seeing the shame of that initial rejection of self. Because what are you doing when you're looking at your counterpart? You're looking at yourself. And if you're not ready to see yourself, there will initiate some kind of block, some kind of runner-chaser energy, some kind of a separation. Now, I could see that in the 20-something years that my counterpart and I were apart. But then, because of my own healing that I've done along my journey, and of course he'll be mirroring that with his own healing along his journey, because you're always one soul. You're not separate. You're always in union. You're always one soul journeying together. So as I'm experiencing something, he's experiencing something. And it's not to say that because of my rejection, it created this separation. It was divinely orchestrated by both counterparts from the oversoul, because there was healing to take place from both perspectives, from both counterparts, him as well. So it happens simultaneously. You're on parallel. You're on the same path. It's parallel in and of itself, but they're not different paths. It's you have one circle. It's the same circle, but you're taking two different ways to get to that meeting point again. So for me, I had done so much healing work through my experiences, through my catalyst awakening or ascension with Lyme disease. And that's when I began to love myself again. That's when I began to really see myself again, understand myself again. Throughout my 20s and my 30s, I was just hell bent on personal development and growing. And that is what led to us being able to come together in the union so that we could sustain that physical union with our ascension. And for the majority of my ascension journey with my counterpart, we were together, even living together at one point. And now we had gone through this period of separation because that was necessary. It was necessary for his ascension. It was necessary for my continued evolution. But you're never apart. You're never apart. And that's what this journey really shows you. So that when you come together, you're able to now physically sustain that, or energetically sustain that in the physical form. I say in my book, don't fear the separation. Don't fear the separation. The separation is just showing you where to continue your evolution. It's just having you focus on your path to keep growing as you come into more of that union, physical union, sustained union with your counterpart. So again, it's going to look different for everybody, and my book's not out yet, but I've been writing it. I've been healing as I've been writing it myself, seeing things from new perspectives. And when I came out of this meditation, the last thing that I saw was looking at my counterpart as he is now in this version, at this age, and just seeing perfection, and not perfection from the human standpoint or the ego standpoint, but a purity, a love. And it was so profound and so powerful, because this is what you see when you first meet, when you're first united, when you first see each other. That's what you see. You see that purity of love. It's just your human stuff that gets in the way. Your pains, your patterns, your programs, your beliefs, your habits, your addictions, your criticisms, your judgments. It's all that human stuff that gets in the way. And so the time wound was completely neutralized, and there has just been so much joy and so much peace that I've felt this entire past week. It's like I can't even explain it. I can't even wrap my head around it. All I can do is just be in it. And that's what this ascension journey, this higher level, higher heart ascension journey takes you to. There's different layers and different levels of our journey. There's what I'd like to call the twin flame journey, which is, if you look at this as the Vesica Pisces, you have the twin flame journey, which is the healing and the triggers, and then you have the twin soul journey. And it could be the same counterpart, or it could be somebody different, depends on your journey. It could be the same counterpart, but the twin soul aspect is the harmony, the healing, the joy, the peace. And that peace just anchors in. Where you try to access those pains again, you try to access anger or resentment or rejection or abandonment, and it's not there. It's because you neutralize that energy, you clear that energy, and all that's left is peace and love, and this is your inner union. And that's a process. It's a process for me that really began 6 months ago. Really began to anchor in when I was in Glastonbury. You guys can check out the channeling Receiving the Sacred. I'll put these links of interest in the description box. But it really began to, over the past 6 months or so, anchor in. And the absolute peace, love, and joy, it's not just coming and going in phases. It is anchored. It is anchored as your new way of being. And that's what it's about. It's not about thinking or analyzing it. It's just about being it. That's what your ascension journey teaches you. You are the twin flame energy. You are that love. You are that peace. You are that joy. You are that connection to yourself, to your sacred other, to the universe itself, to everyone around you, everything being interconnected. It is mind-blowing. And it was interesting for me to be able to, over the course, let me put it this way. I've never been one to shy away from taking complete responsibility and accountability where I'm called to. And that's what this journey teaches you too. It teaches you to look in the mirror, teaches you to see the reflection. You might not be the person that is being betrayed, but there's a reason why you're experiencing that betrayal energy. Maybe because you're betraying yourself, for example. You might not be the one that is leaving a connection or creating that separation physically, but where have you been abandoning yourself? Are you neglecting yourself? Where are you rejecting yourself? Where do you need to honor yourself more? Where do you have to have healthier boundaries? Where do you have to have healthier self-expression? Everything in this universe, every experience that we have, especially when it comes to our twin flame partner, because that twin flame is always going to be the greatest mirror for us, because that mirror is made of perfect, beautiful, divine love. That's what your twin flame is. Your twin flame is you, and you're learning to love yourself with that pure unconditional love, as your twin flame loves you in that pure unconditional love. It's just the human that looks different. And I get it. I don't want to negate how it feels in the physical, when it feels like we're being abandoned, when it feels like we're being left behind, when it feels like we're being ghosted, etc., etc., etc. But what are you learning from those experiences? And how can you take full responsibility for those experiences in some way, shape, or form? This is not putting the responsibility of your counterpart on you. This is not taking the blame for your relationship or your connection or everything that went on in it. But it's having accountability. It's having personal responsibility to see how you played a part. Again, maybe you need to have healthier boundaries. Maybe you need to speak up for more. Maybe you needed to see where you were abandoning yourself. Soul growth is the epitome of this journey. At every venture, as difficult as it was, as much as an asshole as my counterpart might have been acting, I always was able to look at the soul versus the human and to say, okay, doesn't mean I have to engage with the human, but I still love the soul, and I can see what he's trying to teach me from the soul level. And I can see how I can grow from this. I can see how, etc., etc., etc. So that you neutralize all those energies and just come back to this place of unconditional love for yourself, for your partner. And so for myself, what unlocked was taking responsibility for where was I rejecting myself? Where was I feeling shame about that rejection of self by, in essence, not liking him back or rejecting him in that way? And again, it wasn't a rejection. It was just, I simply, from my 10-year-old perspective, liked somebody else. But from the energetic perspective, it was because here was this beautiful, brave, sensitive boy who saw me and loved me as I was, as that 10-year-old girl. But I had become a shell of myself at that point because of some experiences I had. And I wasn't able to recognize myself. And when I say a shell of myself, I used to be vivacious and joyful, etc. But I had really shut parts of myself down. Really shut parts of myself off. Become very, very shy in that respect. And so here's this boy who, in essence, loved me. And I wasn't able to see that because I wasn't able to love myself or allow myself to receive that love. And so that's where I blocked it. That's where I became the runner, in essence. And while on this journey it looks like my counterpart had been the runner and I was the chaser, in essence, that could have been from some of the experiences that we had, and energetically speaking, because when you're a divine feminine on this journey, you understand the connection. You're like, I don't understand how I can feel this and you can feel this, and how is this not coming together? So in essence, until you reach a certain point, you're chasing the counterpart to want them to understand, until you realize you don't need to do any of that. You just need to be. Because otherwise, you're just chasing after yourself, which is pushing it further and further away. You have to find that within yourself. Embrace that within yourself. This was the missing piece of the puzzle for me. And I share that because it might be a missing piece in some way for you as well. All right, we're going to do a little bit of reading and see what do we need to know for this eclipse energy. Now, let's talk about this eclipse energy for a minute. Depending on where you are, you're going to feel it in a little bit of a different way. You can either feel the absolute joy, light, all these light codes that are coming in from it, the peace, the happiness is going to push you further and further into this new version of you. Or if you've been resisting your growth, it's going to feel a bit harder because it's going to be a portal that pushes you into more and more of that healing and more of that growth. So it depends on where you are. You might be feeling it in a number of different ways. Let's see what's going on for the counterpart. I want to say this too. There's a lot of fear-mongering on this planet at this time. A lot of fear-mongering. And that's just repeating cycles and cycles and cycles. That's trying to pull the energy down as we're attempting to evolve and rise. I did a channeling. I have it in a playlist called Lightworker Messages called Hold the Light. This was right before the pandemic. I was called to do a series of channelings around staying in your light, holding your light amongst any fear. And I feel that too. Now that the same message coming in, hold your light. Don't give in to the fear. You're going to experience a lot of people that are saying, oh, the eclipse is going to do this. The eclipse is going to do that. Really make sure you're using your discernment, and rather than listening to the chatter of everybody and letting yourself be influenced by everybody, trust in what you yourself are experiencing. Trust in what you yourself are seeing. Tune out from social media. I'm rarely on social media these days because there's just so much density, so much fear, and so much heaviness. And when you're listening to so much chatter, you're pulled apart, you're pulled away from your own inner guidance, your own inner light. Keep anchored into your own inner light, to your own wisdom. You have that within you. Go to your soul family for support. Always, make sure that you have that community. You have community for a purpose. You're not meant to be isolated or alone. But make sure that you're using discernment when it comes to the people that you're following or the people that you're listening to. Make sure that it's resonating with your truth. Make sure that it's resonating with your heart and not just connecting with the ego, which is the fear and the patterns, etc. Okay? That's for everybody. That's for, even myself. If I'm not resonating with you, maybe, that's part of your evolution. So really trust in what feels right for you. So that being said, with the eclipse energy, I feel like there's kind of two camps, but I don't feel like either of those camps are any of the fear-mongering that's going on. I feel like it's just for ascension. It's going to be, you're either going to feel more of those light codes, more into the new version of yourself, the higher version of yourself, more joy, more peace, more self-expression, more of what you've been evolving into, the new frequency you've been evolving into. You're going to be manifesting in that energy. You're going to be anchoring in to that energy. That's going to be your new way of being, your new way of living, your new way of who you are. That's your embodiment. Or if you've been resisting, or if there's something that needs to come up to the surface, the eclipse is going to show you that. And again, that's where it might feel like a little bit of an energetic push. That's where it might feel a little bit tougher, because it's just pushing you to clear that energy. Eclipses are powerful portals for evolution, for change. And it's just, remember, everything in this universe is connected to God. And God is that energy that moves through you, helping you to evolve your soul, to grow your soul. So when we're looking at it from that perspective, don't look at it as something negative. Look at it as something for your evolution, for your soul growth. When it comes to sacred partners, I'm just tuning in now to the energy of union, to the energy of sacred partners. This is a pivotal time. Divine Feminine has been anchoring in her inner union, which is activating the masculine's ascension. They've been going through their ascension, but the more that the feminine is in her state of inner union, where she's not focused on the masculine or what they're doing, what are they experiencing, etc., you might be in a little bit of a separation period, or you might feel detached or in like a void, but the void doesn't feel heavy. It feels joyful. It feels light. It feels like, okay, I trust you. Whatever it is that you're doing on your journey, like it's part of your journey and I believe in you. It's that kind of energy that we've been channeling for the past couple of weeks. This is you as a divine feminine, just really anchored into your joy, anchored into your peace, anchored into your path. The more you do that, the more the masculine is rising in their energy. I feel June is going to be pivotal. I was mentioning that. I've mentioned that for the past couple of weeks or months. I actually mentioned that to the facilitator of the session that I had on Thursday. We were having a chat afterwards, and she said she was picking up the same thing. Energy is going to be really heightened in June with regards to sacred partners. And then she was also picking up on September being pivotal. So it really feels like feminine's rising, masculine's rising, union's anchoring in. I mean, at this point, I just surrender to it. I can't even, my ego can't even doubt. That's how much I've anchored into whatever it is. But it's not, this is how union has to be, or this is what union looks like, or this is my expectation of it. Release any expectation that you have of what union has to be or look like in the physical. Release any expectation of grand declarations of love or romantic overtures. Release all of that. Yes, that is magic and that can absolutely happen and will absolutely happen. But you have to release the expectation of that, because that's still tied to 3D programming, in order to really tune into and align with your soul for what is naturally manifesting, to what is naturally aligning, to what is naturally unfolding. And it's unfolding because of the energy. So again, I just want to reiterate, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have all those beautiful human experiences. But here on our channel, we've always looked at it from the ascension standpoint, from the energetic standpoint. And part of that is allowing yourself to release what you think you know and what you think it needs to be, in order to allow the magic and the miracles of your journey to unfold. Think about it. The most magical moments that you've experienced along this journey, was it because you were anticipating something, you were expecting it, or because you thought it had to happen a certain way? Or did it happen because you were present with yourself, because you were enjoying your life, because you were fully anchored in to the magic of the present moment? Think about when you met your counterpart, how present you were, how joyful the experience was, not because you were anticipating it. It came because you were in that state of presence. It came because you were in that state of love. That's how we learn to live our lives. Doesn't mean that we're passive. It just means that we're surrendered, and surrender is that divine surrender of trusting where our soul is guiding us. That's where we take action. That's where our masculine and feminine energies within align, because we're trusting our soul, we're trusting our intuition, and we take that guided action. That's union. That's our inner union. And as we experience that inner union, well, our physical world just manifests in the most beautiful and abundant ways. And not just with your relationship, but maybe with your business or your career, with your family. It has a ripple effect on everything around you. Your friendships become richer, more meaningful. You have more meaningful interactions and conversations. You have more meaningful work. You're more abundant and feeling fulfilled in your work, whatever that might be. It's joy, it's playfulness, it's peace, it's love. And it doesn't come from trying to control and saying, oh, this is how it has to happen, because this is the blueprint and this is the next step. No, it happens because you embody that joy, you embody that peace, you embody that love, and you welcome all of that in through your energy. So the moon eclipsing the sun, the moon being the feminine energy, the sun being the masculine energy. What happens when you have an eclipse? The two meet. The two meet in that harmony, the two meet in that union. And I feel like this is a precursor for those sacred unions. When I say the precursor, I mean this, we've been talking about unions anchoring in. The doorways to union have been opened. We're coming back around. We have channeled so many messages over the past 2 years about unions anchoring in, but those energies got hijacked, right? All of a sudden, it's like we were on a completely different timeline, a completely different trajectory. Well, now all those messages that we channeled back from 2021, 2022, even 2023 are coming back around again because we're on track again. So the union energies are anchoring in. And I feel like this eclipse is part of that anchoring in. You might be experiencing this within your own inner union, and it's going to keep facilitating over the course of this year into the next eclipse season, which is October, I think. September, October, I forget when. But eclipse season is going to be towards the end, towards fall. That's the next eclipse season. So this is the shift. This is the doorway being opened, and I feel like it's the masculine and feminine coming into that harmony, coming into that balance, coming into that union, coming into that meeting. And what I'm just feeling is just the joy of the meeting of the masculine and the feminine. What I'm seeing in my mind is this absolute smile and love in my own counterpart's eyes when I turned around that night and we were activated, when we met, so to speak. That's a metaphor for all of us, for what we're experiencing, that joy, that recognition, that pure unconditional love. It's like that's where we are. It's like we're going back to the beginning, but with this new level of consciousness. And when I say going back to the beginning, I mean we are kind of back to the beginning of our journey, or back to the start of our journey, but without all the karma and the triggers and the tension and the friction that we experienced in the first part of our journey. Now we're in the higher heart ascension. We're just at the beginning of it, and it's kind of like we're at the beginning again. But that's what Sacred Union is. So I'm going to put links in the description if you guys are new here, or if you want to revisit some of the channelings for deeper understanding or re-listen. I'll put links of interest in the description box. So tell me about this eclipse energy when it comes to the unions. Be bold and make the first move. This is the masculine energy that is truly rising. Some of you might be experiencing communication, or you might be experiencing this could be your inner masculine too, where you're being asked to go to a next level of a career or business, to take action in some way. You being bold, but you also might have, I'm hearing incoming, so you might be having incoming communication when it comes to your counterpart, when it comes to your connection. Fiery climax approaches. Full moon in Aries. We're in Aries season. It's the new moon in Aries. Let's see, one more card to round this out, please. Union energies. Union energies. Your hard work is paying off. Yeah. So I'm hearing first that this eclipse energy, new moon specifically, is going to have a big impact on cardinal signs, which, and we have the cardinal moon here, which is the Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. So if you have those in your chart in significant places, you might be feeling it. I'm actually, I'm getting called, look specifically at where in your chart you might have those, because, or your counterpart might have those, because that's where I feel like you might feel the energy more significantly. Either it's elevating you in some way, or pushing you, or in some way, depending again where you are in your journey. I feel like wherever you have those in your chart, Sun, Moon, Venus rising, I feel like that's going to have a significant impact with regards to this eclipse. So Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. But regardless of that, that might just be a message for some. Your hard work is paying off and a fiery climax approaches. Yeah, like this eclipse energy is really pushing for a completion, so that you can move into a next version of yourself, and you're really being elevated. You're really evolving into a new version of yourself. You might not even recognize yourself from who you used to be. Now, other people might see you as the same old person, but you can feel the difference. You can feel the transformation within your own energy. You can see where you've changed your patterns, where you've changed your mindsets, where you've evolved your beliefs, where you've done your healing. You can feel the transformation within you. That's not up to anybody else outside of yourself. It's up to you. Everybody's going to be operating from their own level of consciousness, and they're going to be seeing you from that level of consciousness. But you yourself, how do you see yourself? That's what matters. That's what this journey shows you. It shows you yourself. And you embodying that energy, you're going to be naturally having a ripple effect on all the interactions and all the connections that you have around you, because you're going to be leading by example, just from your own embodiment. It's not from an egoic place, like I have to do this in order to teach, or I have to do this in order to show. No, you're doing this just because it's natural to who you've become, because that's part of your inner transformation. And it's naturally going to have that ripple effect on other people or other situations or the world. But it's because of the transformation within yourself. But you have to allow yourself to close out what needs to close out, to end what needs to end, to clear what needs to clear, in order to move into this next phase, this next version. And even I'm hearing into this union energy, because it's all about coming to union with yourself first, right? If you come into union with yourself, what does that mean? It means that you have to clear out anything blocking you from that union, or that's still the illusion of separation. That's where you be bold and make the first move within yourself, because you are taking action to do that work, to grow within yourself. For myself, I knew that there was this piece of the puzzle. I could feel it. I could feel it over the course of the past couple of months, but I just wasn't able to access it. And then it came at the perfect time. The dream showed me what I needed to heal. It showed me that the time wound was still active. It showed me that I still carried the block of separation within myself, and that's all that wound was. It was separation. And so I had to take action, invest in myself, and take action for the healing, for the clearing. And that's what created that release and that conclusion within me, a conclusion of that past version of myself. And it cleared the past, and going back lifetimes is what I saw. Again, it was a very multidimensional week for me. It closed the past of lifetimes, including this lifetime, and it created a brand new future. I saw a new timeline opening up for me. Your hard work pays off. This soul growth journey that you're on, it pays off. Yes, you're doing it with a counterpart. And yes, you love your counterpart so incredibly much. But understand that they love you too. Understand that they are pushing you into your soul growth to do your work. And everything that you're experiencing is a push for you to take responsibility for yourself and your journey to do that inner work. Again, it's not about blame. It's not about judgment. It's just about being responsible for your part, for yourself, for your transformation. What I want to do is I want to look at the masculine and feminine energies. We haven't done this in a while. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer reading. All right. What's going on with the masculine energy? I'm using this Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle, because that's what this feels like. It feels like this eclipse is a very activating energy. And it could be activating in a number of different ways. Again, depending on where you are, it could be activating you into this higher level of yourself, new light codes I just see coming in, or it could be new timelines opening up, or it could be pushing you and activating you into doing further healing work, deeper dives, more excavation, so that you can welcome in more light codes, so that you can welcome in new energy, so that you can open up new timelines. That there's a purpose for the work that you do, and it's to open up new timelines, right? So let's see what's going on for the divine masculine right now, and then we'll go a little bit. We'll get a couple layers going here. What's going on for the divine masculine dynamic? This is that Trinity energy, and I feel like the divine masculines right now are in the thick of their ascension. They've been going through the inner spiral. They're going into themselves. This is the ascension spiral is what I'm seeing, deeper and deeper and deeper into the core of themselves. What I'm actually seeing is like a nucleus, and I feel like that's where they're accessing. That's what they're accessing now. They're accessing like the nucleus of themselves, which is the deepest aspect of themselves that they might not have allowed themselves to look at in the past. I'm also seeing the Trinity energy. If you've been here for a while, you know that the Three of Pentacles was my Trinity card for a while, because they showed it to me as the triangle. God source at the top, divine masculine, divine feminine. And then they said, you know what, that doesn't really fit. They said it gives you an idea, it's a starting point, but as I evolved, my understanding grew. And so then the next thing they showed me was the Three of Cups, and it was two cups pouring into the third chalice. And what happens when two of the same substance, the masculine and feminine energies, pour into the third, is completely merged. There is no, it's like when you're looking at water, you can't see where one drop ends and one drop begins. So that was the union energy, that was the Trinity energy. But what they're showing me here is the union connection. There's a connection that is happening for the divine masculine. They're starting to feel this union energy. They're starting to feel this connection. It's all being lit up. It's all coming online. Many months ago we channeled, maybe back in August, September, that the mind is coming online with the heart. And they were showing it to me as like a green strand, a green energetic strand, like lit up energetically, from the mind to the heart. And what that shows is that the two are in alignment now. And what that is the masculine and the feminine in alignment. And what is the moon and the sun? What happens with the moon and the sun during the eclipse? It's in alignment. So that's exactly what's happening here. They're coming online with the connection. They're coming online with the union. And they're getting to the core, the absolute core, the nucleus of themselves, and going deep into their inner awareness. The frequency of dynamics supports our ability to harmonize between layers and aspects of different origin and frequency. It helps us put together a reality that is made up of many different elements, both familiar and completely new, with ease, grace, and great joy. So they're coming online with their higher self. They're getting in tune with their higher self. We've been channeling for the divine masculine for the past couple of weeks that it's like they're being pushed, and they have been many times, but this is a really big push. And divine feminine, the more that you're focused on yourself, your ascension, the more you anchor in your inner union, the more the masculine comes into this energy. They're being pushed into, well, I just heard the word surrender, which is interesting. So they're being pushed into recognizing their higher self and recognizing that they were not operating in their higher self. And what I'm feeling is this is their surrender. So they're connecting, they're coming online. We're going to get more for the masculines and what's actually going on in 3D in a minute, but there's an ascension process that's happening, and you might be experiencing some separation. You might be experiencing some no contact in your communication, and I feel like a lot of masculines may have withdrawn to really go deep within. Or at the very least, there might be like a divine orchestration, as we talked about the tower moments in one of the last readings, for the masculines to be able to go deep within, to recognize their higher self, to recognize their soul self. It's big energy, big changes that are coming through. What's going on for the divine feminine? Everything's connected now. What I'm actually seeing is, you see how this is all lit up energetically? This had been offline. There had been breaks in the connection. Now, what I'm seeing is those connections are being reformed, and it's all coming online. It's all being lit up. And so now it's like, this is like the wheel is turning. They're going deep within. They're going deep within. Again, I'm just seeing like the nucleus going deep within. All right. What do we need to know for the divine feminine? What do we need to know for the divine feminine? Divine feminine, I'm not surprised to see this. We also have consciousness at the bottom of the deck, and I feel like these two go hand in hand. Solar plexus chakra. This is where you have connected to yourself. You see how it's the seed of life here? This is where you have connected to yourself in that interconnection of all living beings. This is where you have shifted your consciousness. This is where you've anchored in your inner union. And it's the 17 number. And 17 for me is that sacred union number. It is the energy of higher consciousness. It is the energy of union within the self. And it's all because you have really anchored that into yourself. The frequency of the solar plexus chakra, the yellow flower of life, supports our sense of self, our personal power, and our willpower, as well as our knowing of who we are and what our contribution is to the whole. And that is, in essence, your sacred union, your inner union, where you're balanced, you're harmonized within the masculine and feminine polarities within yourself. You're recognizing there is no separation, and by recognizing there is no separation, that you're always in union, in that higher level of consciousness, that higher level of awareness, you recognize your personal empowerment. You recognize your sovereignty. You recognize your connection to all. What I'm getting is the solar aspect is going to be really important for you, divine feminines, with this eclipse. You've been anchoring in your inner masculine energy as you are aligning higher to your divine feminine aspect within you, but you're really grounding and anchoring, or you have been grounding and anchoring in your inner masculine, that safety, that security, that presence, that grounded energy. Being able to provide for yourself, being able to give for yourself, but not in a distorted lens, not in I have to. Again, you're in balance with your feminine energy of trusting yourself, allowing yourself to receive in equal balance, allowing yourself to take action with or from that inner guidance, from trusting your intuition. And so what I'm seeing is the solar aspect, or the masculine energy of the eclipse. It's going to be really important because that's going to help you anchor in more of these codes. And what I'm actually seeing is, like the seed of life, the threads keep expanding. So it's almost like I'm seeing a tapestry being woven, or a web being woven. The web being that seed of life. And that web is going to keep expanding. And I feel like this is because you're anchoring in, again, to your inner union, to your highest self. It's everything we were talking about: more joy, more peace, more happiness, more abundance, just really grounding in the energies of the higher consciousness and operating from that higher level of being now, that higher level of embodiment. And you're going to be weaving new timelines from that, higher timelines from that. And that's part of the seed of life, because everything's going to be having a ripple effect from that. Everything's going to be connected from that. Okay, well, that's powerful. So, the sun. Spend some time in the sun, not just now, but going forward. Not just with the eclipse, but going forward, because I feel like allow yourself to receive the light codes, the new light codes that are coming in from that. Tell me about the union energies. What do we need to know about the union energies? What do we need to know about the union energies? The root chakra. Yeah, it's grounding in. You're anchoring this in. The frequency of the root chakra, the red flower of life, stimulates passion and supports our sense of security on this physical plane, both in our bodies as well as the physical world. This is the beginning. You're opening the door with this eclipse to your physical union, but that becomes a process. And it first becomes a process of anchoring into your inner union and the physical manifestations of that inner union. Making sure you're aligned in your job, making sure you're aligned in your spiritual practice, making sure you're aligned in your connections, and just embodying that higher energy and anchoring that into your physical world, divine feminine. So that I feel like by the end of the year, if you're in alignment with this, if this is really resonating with you, then I feel like by the end of the year, there's going to be that sacred union, sacred relationship, conscious relationship with your sacred partner, or at the very least, like the beginning of that, the reunion of that, the reconciliation of that. And you might be experiencing some of that here and now, but I feel like with communication, etc., the open doorway again. But I feel like by the end of the year, it's going to be anchored in. But you're starting the anchoring in within yourself, within your inner union now. Interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on. I'm going to use this deck since I brought it out. Let's see what's going on with the masculine and the feminine at a little bit of a lower level. I mean, physical level or 3D level. What's going on? What are they experiencing? Make sure you sign up for my newsletter for news and info about my upcoming book. which feels like a completion of a major phase of my evolution, a major phase of this channel, major phase of this journey in my business. Talking all about everything I've ever channeled and understood about twin flames, sacred union, sacred partnerships, and this ascension journey. Make sure you sign up for my newsletter for sneak peeks, behind the scenes, and how you can be involved in the launch of the book. So my newsletter at www.susanddawnspiritual.com. What other news do I have? Yeah, I'll just have a lot more coming as it comes. There's been a lot. There's a lot going on. Okay. So the masculine, yeah, the angel of healing. So what's interesting is, remember, you're never apart. The masculine is going through their healing right now. But what's interesting, what I like about this is divine feminine, you're always healing together. Like, your masculine might be going through this, but it's also your inner masculine that's healing at the same time. And your masculine, your counterpart, I should say, is holding space for your healing, which is helping to facilitate their healing. It's this quantum entanglement. As one thing shifts, another thing shifts across space and time. As you heal, they heal. So I feel like you're holding space for each other for this healing to take root. And as you're shifting, your masculine is shifting and going deeper and deeper into their ascension journey. I'm going to leave that there. We're going to get some tarot in a minute, but we're going to leave that there. Divine feminines, goddess of the earth. An idea connected to the imagination, creativity, and nature is coming your way. I just feel this grounding presence, which is interesting because this has more of the energetic presence. This has more of the grounding presence. So I feel like this is where you're supporting each other in your healing and in your growth. Divine feminine, you might be focused more on your physical world. You might be focused on really, again, rooting in your physical union, your inner union, I should call it. You might be focused on your career, your business, projects, work, whatever that looks like to you. You might be focused on your family, your friends, your social life. You might be focused on your animals, your children, whatever your physical world looks like to you. You're really rooting in these transformations, these manifestations. You're focused on the physical. It's so the masculine can be focused on their work, can be focused on their ascension, which is energetic now. Doesn't mean that you're not still doing that feminine. Just like I experienced an energy healing, it's facilitating and helping the masculine to heal, to grow, right? So I feel like it's always going to be two parts of the same whole. That's what you and your counterpart are. But I feel like you're more focused on the physical right now, which is actually aiding the masculine to go deep within and work on themselves, to clear out karma, to clear out patterns, to look at beliefs, etc., to do their shadow work. That's where you're healing each other. That's where you're holding space for each other. Okay, and let's just get a card for the union. Card for the union. I have been exhausted with this eclipse energy. I had so much stamina and energy last week, and then I hit a wall this weekend. I have been exhausted with the eclipse energy. Let me know if it's if you're feeling that too. We have Angel of Expression. Speak your truth and express yourself clearly. I feel like this is being everything that you are. Not holding yourself back, not abandoning yourself, not rejecting yourself in any way. This is you stepping up into the fullness of who you are. And that's what creates the space for your union. By you being your authentic self and expressing yourself in that full authentic self-expression, that's where you're anchoring into your union, your inner union. And imagine that playing out in your sacred partnership, where you can approach each other and love each other and communicate with each other so vulnerably and intimately and openly. That's what your union is all about. And that's what's going to begin and has been anchoring in here. That's what embodiment is all about. It's about allowing yourself to speak up, be you in the full, authentic expression of your soul. And the more that you do that, man, the more you're anchoring in your inner union, and the more you're able to do that with a sacred partner. And any connection, truly, any conscious connection, and any connection that doesn't allow for that is going to fade away. Because you're at a point in your evolution, you're at a point in your ascension that you will not allow for surface level or shallow connection anymore. Because you're not shallow, you're not surface level. You're allowed to be the full depth of who you are. And your connection is one that is deep and that honors that depth. All right, we're going to get a little bit more. I feel like as much as I want to, I feel like I can't truly go into what the masculine and feminine might be experiencing. It's almost like there's an unknown element. We have to allow ourselves to sit in the uncertainty a little bit. We have to allow it to unfold. We have to trust. And I feel like that's why I've been pulled back from doing readings, not only because I've been going through my own stuff and my own ascension, and being really called to go internally and keep things sacred, but also because, again, that has a ripple effect on the collective. We're meant to be internal right now. We're meant to be trusting our journey and trusting our unfolding and trusting ourselves rather than seeking anything. Remember, what you seek, you already are. But let's see if we can get any information. What's going on for the Divine Masculine right now? What's going on for the Divine Masculine right now? I'm just feeling the energy of Archangel Michael, and I do feel like Archangel Michael is really guiding these connections and protecting these connections. And what I'm hearing is so that you don't get off track again, so that it doesn't get hijacked again. Remember when I said that? We've been saying that for the past couple of months, where, again, past couple of years, it's like all of a sudden we were on track, and then all of a sudden we were pulled off track. It's because the energies were hijacked. You know, there are dark forces in this world that tries to keep us from the light. And that isn't to invoke fear or anything. It's just so that you recognize the importance of holding that light within yourself and not sinking into the fear, not sinking into the illusion of anything, but really trusting in yourself, trusting in your guidance, trusting in your heart and what you're being called to, trusting in your resonance. And so I feel like Archangel Michael is really guiding and protecting, and that's too where we're called to be kind of internal right now and focus on ourselves rather than maybe watching social media or listening to 1,000 readings. Pull back from that. Really just go where you're guided, where you feel called to rather than what might be out of habit. Go where you're guided, because that's what will give you the information that you need for your next step or for the unfolding. But there's a protection element that's around these connections at this time. It's because it's needed. Sacred unions are necessary at this time because of the cosmic effect that the power of unconditional love has. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. But everything's on my channel already if you are interested in any of that. Okay, so we have the Wheel of Fortune, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I feel like there is this connective energy that is happening. It's like everything is lining up. It's like boop, boop, boop. Like that's what I'm seeing. It's like lighting up, lighting up, lighting up. And like it's almost like these are gears that are turning now. That's what this energy is. It's like the wheel is turning now. And I feel like the Divine Masculine is going deep into the nucleus of themselves, but they're not stuck there. They're not stagnant there. There is a clearing. There's a purification process that's happening here. I'm just seeing the Phoenix. There's a breakthrough that's happening here for the masculine. And I like it. If it's just like a wheel here, it's turned on the Leo. It's turned on the Lion. And that indicates strength. That indicates courage. That indicates bravery. And that's what the Divine Masculine is seeing in themselves, or beginning to recognize in themselves. Their courage, their strength. Where they might have been seeking outside of themselves for that, they're recognizing that within themselves now. And that's what this ascension journey brings you to. It brings you to that breakthrough, to recognize yourself as the Phoenix. You have to go through the fires of initiation in order to be reborn. And what is ascension if not an initiation, right? And so I feel like that's what the Divine Masculine is going through. They're going through their initiation right now. King of Cups, yeah, they're feeling a ton of emotion right now, but I feel like they're balancing their emotions. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels like they're exploring the depths of themselves. Again, getting into the nucleus, getting into the core, exploring there. This feels like a really good energy. This feels like a really positive energy. And the Eight of Pentacles, yeah, they're self-focused right now. They're really going into the core of themselves, the depth of themselves. This is what I was talking about, this Three of Cups. You see how the two cups pour into the third? And the third is that God source energy. And what happens is it is a complete merging of energies. It is a complete union, and it creates joy, celebration, happiness, harmony. Three of Cups is never a negative card, ever. It is a joyful celebration, a harmonization. That's what this energy feels like. I feel like the Divine Masculine is really working on themselves. And remember, the Divine Masculine will work on themselves from a different place or a different way from the Divine Divine Feminines. They'll experience very physical situations and circumstances in order to go through their initiations, rather than just experiencing it energetically, like the feminine does. And that's why the feminine goes through her ascension first, so that, and the Divine Masculine holds the space for the feminine to go through her ascension, so that the feminine can continue to transmute and clear in support of the Divine Masculine's ascension. I feel like the Divine Masculine is working on themselves, self-focused. Nose to the grindstone is what I'm hearing. And it feels really positive, because I feel like they're beginning to explore their emotions, and where it might not have felt safe to explore their emotions, that's where I feel like the Wheel of Destiny is taking over. It's like the universe is taking over and saying, you know what, we're supporting you, we're guiding you. And now the Divine Masculine is trusting the universe to support them, to guide them. Anything else for the Divine Masculines? Anything else for the Divine Masculines? We have the Seven of Wands. I feel like they are standing their ground, standing up for themselves. Where they might have had a defeatist energy or defeatist attitude, I'm hearing, I feel like they are anchored in to their spirituality. You see how he has purple tights? I've never noticed that before. Purple tights, I feel like he's anchored into his spirituality. Anchored into himself now. Any defensiveness is not, it's not coming from a guardedness. Any defensiveness is, hey, I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm in tune with it myself. I know who I am. I'm connected to myself, so I'm going to speak from that place. Like, that's where he's, like, defending himself. It's not defending himself against attack or defending himself in a defeatist way. It's defending himself against, like, hey, I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm going to advocate for myself now. Anything else for the Divine Masculine? The Knight of Cups. Yep. And the Five of Cups. So there is still some healing that's going on, but I feel like this energy is past. It doesn't feel woe is me. It doesn't feel defeatist. It doesn't feel like victimhood. But especially with the Knight of Cups, it's like he's taking that cup now and he's learning to love himself. He's taking that cup now and he's filling himself up. Rather than looking at the empty cups and being like, oh, regret and woe is me and again, defeatist. No, this is clarifying this card. This is him anchored into his truth, anchored into his spirituality, anchored into his higher self. Not coming from the ego, but his own soul's truth. And that's the cup that he's drinking from now. Anything when it comes to the connection? I feel like I don't even want to ask that, but anything when it comes to the connection? Page of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. So I feel like the connection is lighting a fire within him. And from the fire of this love, the pure energy of this love, it's what's guiding him forward. It's what's allowing him to take that next step. It's what's allowing him to almost start over, is this energy I'm getting from the Page of Pentacles, to start over in a new way, in a new light. He's gaining the strength and gaining the courage to be able to start over. Divine Feminines. What's going on for the Divine Feminines? Three of Cups. You might be feeling that joy, that happiness, that peace. But it's all coming within, not from an external situation. It's all coming from the shift in energy within you. because you're seeing things from a different perspective. You've shifted your own perspective. You're not seeing anything with regards to separation as something negative. You're seeing beyond the illusion of separation. Again, you're recognizing the union within you and the union that you've always been in with your counterpart, no matter what the experience is in your outside world. And that's what's bringing you peace. Before, you might have felt helpless or powerless or fearful of whatever was going on in your physical world when it came to your counterpart. But now you're anchored into this peace because you're believing in your counterpart. You are believing in yourself. You're believing in this journey because you're tuned into your own intuition and not letting the illusion make you falter. Four of Wands. Yep, that's that stability. There's a sense of stability that's coming through for you. Stability of belief, stability of understanding, stability of connection to yourself. And the Knight of Wands, it took a lot for you to get here. A lot for you to get here. You've battled, you have overcome. But goodness, you are that warrior. You are that warrior too. Anything else for the Divine Feminines? The Seven of Pentacles. I feel like you're being reminded, and the Two of Cups, you're being reminded this is a process. And so you're being reminded to continue to have patience as this process is continuing to unfold, especially when it comes to your union with your counterpart. But you see how the Two Cups, there's a rainbow that's connecting the two of you. You're facing each other. You're always in union. Don't ever forget that. It might take a little bit for the sacred union, the physical union, to come into being and to be sustained, for the energy to be sustained in that physical union. But you're still manifesting. You're manifesting every moment. Remember when I said that new time streams opening up? Keep anchoring into the inner union, and more time streams are going to open up that allow for that sacred union to be anchored in, to be really connected. How are you feeling towards your masculine? Ace of Swords, the Chariot. Yeah, I feel like you're having a lot of clarity, and that clarity is driving you in a new way too. Where there was conflict, where there was competition, maybe even between the two of you, that's being eradicated. You're recognizing the illusion of separation, which includes competition, which includes conflict, which includes disharmony, discord, friction, etc., right? You're eradicating all of that, and there's clarity that's coming in, which is guiding you towards that balance, which is guiding you towards the new direction of that union. And the union being balance, the union being harmony. So there's new clarity that's coming in, new insight that's coming in. There's more peace that's coming in. You see the peace dove in this card as well? There's more peace that's coming in. So I feel like Divine Feminines, just keep anchoring in. Keep anchoring into that inner union. Keep anchoring into that peace, that stability, that joy, because that's what's guiding all of this. That's what's guiding your journey. That's what's guiding you. All right, you guys, we're going to stop here. I'm sending you all so much love and so much light, and we'll see you on the other side of the eclipse.